how Natlan is known as the land of dragons? Well, thousands of years ago, Teyvat was the world of dragons. The earliest events of Teyvat's history was recorded in the Byakkyo-koku collection, a book series you can collect in Enkunomiya. Volume 2 contains a record called Before Sun and Moon, and it's said to be a chronicle that ordinary folk have been forbidden to read. For context, this book was so forbidden that Orobashi was literally killed for reading it. Before humans existed on Teyvat, the entire world belonged to the dragons, much like the Saurians and Natlan and the Visheps, who were just unevolved dragons. I'll call this early era of Teyvat the primordial era. During this era, the primordial dragons were ruled by the 7 sovereigns, the lords of the 7 elements we know and love today. The 7 sovereigns ruled the old world and held the 7 elemental authorities, but lost both their status and their powers when an alien god named the Primordial One descended to Teyvat and created a new order for the world. The Primordial One would later terraform all of Teyvat and prepare the lands for the arrival of humans. The 7 sovereigns were defeated those thousands of years ago, but some of them might still be alive today. Neuvillette gives us more insight into how Celestia stole the elemental powers from the dragons. At the end of the Act 4 Fontaine Archon quest, Neuvillette states that when the Primordial One arrived on Teyvat, they seized a part of the dragon's powers. Today, that stolen power is the basis of the Archon's authorities. There are 7 elemental Archons and 7 matching dragon sovereigns. The 7 sovereigns won't reach their full dragonhood or full power unless their elemental authority is given back to them. Neuvillette's case is one example of what it takes for a ruling dragon's power to be restored. The original Hydro Dragon Sovereign was said to have been the beating heart that ruled over the Primordial Sea, the sea that the Hydro Archanageria used to turn Oceanids into the Fontanian humans. The original Hydro Dragon went to war against the Primordial One, but was killed. A prophecy in Enkunomiya stated that a new Hydro Dragon would be born in human form. I know a lot of us thought it was Kokomi, okay? She has Vishap imagery in her outfit and her trailer looked so extraterrestrial and primordial, if you know what I mean. Although it would have been such a cool backstory for her, the reincarnated Hydro Dragon is Neuvillette. When Neuvillette was reborn in human form, he lost all the memories and powers of the previous Hydro Dragon, including the ability to control the Primordial Sea. While he was able to push back the Primordial Sea's waters in the Fortress of Meripede, he had less control over them than the original Hydro Dragon did. To restore his full dragonhood, Neuvillette would need the Hydro Archon to return the elemental authority to him. However, this required the death of the Hydro Archon. Neuvillette only received his full dragon powers back when Hydro Archon Focalor killed herself and destroyed the Hydro Throne. Currently, Neuvillette is both the Eudex of Fontaine and the Hydro Dragon, and with his authority back, he decided to continue handing out visions to humans. So what happened to the other elemental sovereigns? With Natlan being the newest region, it only seems fair to start with the Pyro Dragon Sovereign. The original Pyro Dragon Shiukotl was the Dragon King that ruled Natlan, and it was so powerful that it killed a god. During the Primordial War, when the dragons fought against the Primordial One summoned 4 gods, the 4 Shining Shades. In terms of power scaling, these Shining Shades were more powerful than the Archons, and A even regards one of them, Istaroth, as being a higher power. A Natlan mural depicting the Pyro Dragon shows it killing one of these Shining Shades, presumably a god named Renova. The Pyro Dragon would later be killed by the first Pyro Archon, Xbalanque. But now, I'm not sure if the Pyro Dragon is actually dead. Here's why. When you unlock one of the statues of the 7 in Natlan, you'll unlock this voiceover from Traveler in Paimon. Traveler states that according to local legend, an enormous Pyro Dragon slumbers in the deepest depths of Natlan's volcano. Within the dragon's body dwells the world's first flame, burning eternally. But Traveler does state that this legend came from a street vendor, so we might have to take their word with a grain of salt for now. The next sovereign we know of is Apep in Sumeru. Apep is a powerful dragon who contains an entire realm inside herself. You fought in this realm before during her boss domain. Apep birthed and protected the first and most ancient elemental life forms of Teyvat, as seen in Naida's story quest Act 2. In order to fight against the Primordial One, Apep attempted to harness forbidden knowledge that exists from outside of Teyvat. However, forbidden knowledge is toxic to Teyvat. It causes anything it comes into contact with to be contaminated or corrupted. So, Apep became contaminated by forbidden knowledge, causing her source of power, the Heart of Oasis, and her created elemental life forms to be contaminated with her. The corruption of forbidden knowledge would cause all of them to suffer, and it also had consequences for the rest of Sumeru, namely the Withering. Even after the dragons were defeated, Apep attempted to collect more forbidden knowledge to overthrow the primordial one. She was stopped by a celestial nail dropping from the sky, causing the eternal sandstorm in Sumeru. Apep would later meet the Scarlet King Deshret, one of the 3 god kings who ruled Sumeru with the previous Dendro Archon Rukkhadevata and the goddess of flowers Nabu Malikata. King Deshret attempted to grow his kingdom with the help of forbidden knowledge. Consequently, due to the contamination of this forbidden knowledge, his people suffered from Elazar, a condition that would cause the body to harden and deteriorate. When King Deshret died, as he and Apep agreed, she absorbed his knowledge and elemental power. Nahida purges forbidden knowledge from the land during the final Sumeru Archon quest. During Act 2 of her story quest, Nahida and Traveler learn more about Apep's condition and eventually restore the Heart of Oasis. Apep is freed from her millennia of suffering. Even though these 3 are the only confirmed sovereigns we know of, Apep mentions one more name: Nibelung. Nibelung was the Dragon King who acquired forbidden knowledge from outside of Teyvat and led the other sovereigns into the war against the Primordial One. Nibelung firmly believed that forbidden knowledge was their ticket to victory. It makes sense, fight fire with fire, fight an alien god with alien powers essentially. It's not clear, however, if Nibelung ruled over the 7 sovereigns or if he is one of the 7, and we just don't know the element he had authority over yet. I'm inclined to believe that he was one of the 7 though. For any Mondstadt and Conria lore enthusiasts, this name might be very familiar to you. The name Nibelung comes from a real-life opera cycle written by Richard Wagner, in which a dwarf named Alberic creates a ring capable of controlling the entire world, using gold he stole from the Rhine Maidens. Kaya Alberic, Rheindatir Gold. Yep, this is the opera cycle that inspired some Mondstadt Conria lore, so thank you, Wagner. It's stated that the Dragon King Nibelung was killed as Apep continued the fight against the Primordial One. But Apep also states that by the time the Dragon King finally returned, the world had irrevocably changed. Either Nibelung came back with forbidden knowledge and was late to the party, the war, or it means that at some point, like Neuvillette, Nibelung was reborn or had a successor. I just want to leave you with a crazy thought. A crazy theory, if you will. Just something for you to think about, nothing serious. What if Traveler is the successor to the Dragon King Nibelung? In the Book of Esoteric Revelations World Quest in Film 10, you encounter a Melusine named Canotilla, who can allegedly see the true nature of things. When asked to describe how she sees Traveler, well...
What I see, if I really must say, then I see... a monster that looks like it could swallow the whole world in a single bite.
But before we end today's video, I have something to confess first. Version 4.5 released the Feline Fortress Fantasy event, and in it, you could get the Throne of Meower item for your teapot and you can finally pet cats. However, I missed out on the event, so unfortunately, I never got to pet cats in Genshin. But, do you know where I can pet cats? Today's video is sponsored by Cat Fantasy. Cat Fantasy is a game launched by Alex and it's a turn-based RPG based on more than 30 breeds of real cats from around the world. Each cat even has a cat girl form that you can switch back and forth to. Super cute art style and super cute ultimate animations. Not only can you battle with your favorite cat girl and improve them with level cards, you can also interact with them in a fully voiced and immersive experience. For all new players, you can claim up to 1,000 free summons in the first 2 weeks. 1,000! You can also get the SSR character Anja when you log in the next day. Download Cat Fantasy today using the link in the description and in the pinned comment down below. Thank you so much Cat Fantasy for sponsoring today's video. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm your leafy lore keeper Minsleif, and I read the Genshin Impact lore so that you don't have to.